When OnePlus announced the partnership with Hasselblad, I expected it to be exclusive to the OnePlus 9 Pro. So it came as a pleasant surprise that the Hasselblad partnership had actually extended to the OnePlus 9 as well. But what wasn't so pleasant was the price bump. Starting just shy of rupees 50,000, it is definitely priced more expensive than its predecessor, the OnePlus 8T, and far more expensive than the OnePlus 9R launched alongside it. To add to that, last year's wonderful OnePlus 8 Pro is also in splitting distance of the OnePlus 9's price. Therefore, it becomes imperative for this phone to justify its price tag. And get this, we haven't even brought the competition into the equation at all. Therefore, what I'm going to try to answer in this review is, should you buy this OnePlus 9 phone, if at all? My name is Ashar, you're watching MySmartPrice. Let's go. Alright, before we move on, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever MySmartPrice puts out an awesome new tech video. So the OnePlus 9's Indian variant is actually slimmer, narrower and lighter than the OnePlus 8T. It feels great in the hand and equally premium as the OnePlus 9 Pro. But there are a few things about the phone's design that you need to note. It has a plastic frame despite using a glass back and front. Plus you don't get IP certification or wireless charging either. All of these are legit downgrades, and considering you get at least 15-watt wireless charging in the US, this is definitely a letdown. As for the Winter Mist colorway, I find it incredibly reflective and it attracts fingerprints like bees to a hive. The OnePlus 8T's matte finish rear and the colorway was way better in my opinion. Now when you look at the triple camera stack on the rear with the Hasselblad branding, the module juts out slightly, which makes the phone wobble on a table. But I like how uniform the design ID is compared to the OnePlus 9 Pro. It is all very homogeneous now. The rest of the design includes the ever so awesome alert slider, and you have a Type-C port and the card slot at the bottom. The display on the OnePlus 9 is a 6.5-inch Fluid AMOLED flat panel with FHD Plus resolution. It can also go up to 1100 nits peak brightness in HDR mode. It is a pretty bright display even in high brightness mode. In regular everyday usage, the brightness levels are very similar to the OnePlus 9 Pro. Plus, you get support for HDR video playback, including HDR10+ support as well. But you don't get a QHD Plus panel nor adaptive refresh rate technology that you get with the LTPO panel on the OnePlus 9 Pro. But you know what, that's actually a good thing because OnePlus hasn't properly optimized the adaptive refresh rate on the OnePlus 9 Pro yet. Therefore, you see some stutters in general UI when you are scrolling through it on the OnePlus 9 Pro, which doesn't exist on the OnePlus 9. That happens on the OnePlus 9 Pro primarily because the adaptive refresh rate is actually taking a bit to adjust itself when the refresh rate changes on the fly. Therefore, the OnePlus 9's display actually feels smoother. The display also has the in-display optical scanner, which is placed very low but unlocks very fast, and the haptic feedback that you get is slightly above average quality. Having said that, I do like flat panels in comparison to curved panels for sure because obviously ghost touches are far fewer. Alright, if you've come this far and if you like our review of the OnePlus 9, please don't forget to like and maybe comment below so that the YouTube algorithm can recommend it to more people looking to make a purchase decision on the OnePlus 9. Like I mentioned, the OnePlus 9 has the same Hasselblad branding as the OnePlus 9 Pro. You get the one generation older 48 megapixel Sony IMX689 sensor from the OnePlus 8 Pro, which has the same specs as the IMX789 with a 1x1.43 inch sensor and a 1.12 micron pixel size, which actually with pixel binning goes on to become 2.24. The attached lens has the same f/1.8 focal length too. But yes, there is no OIS, and that I just can't wrap my head around because OnePlus gently has had OIS on most of its flagships. Anyway, you get the same great 50 megapixel ultra wide angle camera with the freeform lens. The final lens is a monochrome 2 megapixel camera. Now I ran a quick side-by-side camera test against the OnePlus 9 Pro and here's what I found. I was taken aback by the fact that most of my daylight comparison shots looked extremely identical to the OnePlus 9 Pro. It offered the same sharp details and mostly similar color accuracy as well. However, there were some color science inconsistencies. For example, in this picture of the chair, the OnePlus 9 has cranked up the blues. Also, when you are shooting portraits, the face tones are entirely altered. Talking about the portrait mode, these massive sensors paired with wide aperture lenses create such gorgeous and creamy bokehs that I don't see the need for a dedicated portrait mode that has actually watched the object blur on the rear. The dynamic range performance was near identical too, with a good control over the highlights, but the shadows were crushed. The iPhone 12 series and the Samsung Galaxy S21 series are better at dynamic range though. Ultra-wide shots are as detailed and color consistent as the OnePlus 9 Pro, making it the cheapest phone with the best ultra-wide angle camera. Similar to the botched facial tones in portrait mode, the OnePlus 9 struggles with selfies as well. Doesn't matter if it is a regular selfie or HDR. While I'm not a fan of OnePlus 9 Pro's selfies, the OnePlus 9 is seemingly worse. By default, the OnePlus 9 Pro has an edge with videography. You get 4K 120 FPS recording and HDR video recording up to 4K 60 FPS with Auto HDR on. On the OnePlus 9, you actually have to switch on HDR and it limits it to 4K 30 FPS samples. Now looking at these samples, they are near identical in quality and colors. In 4K 60 FPS video, we can see that the OnePlus 9 Pro benefits from the HDR video recording capability. Plus the optical image stabilization might look a little wobbly, but it actually looks more natural considering that you don't get the kind of jerks and jitters when you actually pan with EIS. The front camera video looks similar on both the phones, with just the facial tones being more natural on the OnePlus 9 Pro. Furthermore, ultra-wide angle video captured using the phones look identical as well. Now moving on, owing to the lack of OIS and laser autofocus, I had a tough time focusing and getting a crisp low light shot from the OnePlus 9. You can see that the OnePlus 9 is softer in comparison. The OnePlus 9 Pro is sharper and better at low light performance. And it better be, considering it is far more expensive and uses a newer sensor too. However, the Nightscape ultra-wide shots in low light are very similar, with both the phones offering the same level of fidelity. It is commendable that the algorithm on the OnePlus 9 and the OnePlus 9 Pro are almost matched in many situations, and I also like the fact that the OnePlus 9 actually takes good pictures using its IMX689 sensor in daylight, and the ultra-wide angle camera also matches up in performance. Having said that, the HDR video performance is not that great on the OnePlus 9, and of course, the low light shots are better on the OnePlus 9 Pro as well. Most importantly, the facial tones when you're capturing portraits or when you're capturing selfies is actually better on the OnePlus 9 Pro compared to the OnePlus 9. So when you're shooting human subjects, the OnePlus 9 Pro does a better job, which means that the OnePlus 9 Pro is a better camera system compared to the OnePlus 9. Having said that, if you can live with the shortcomings of the OnePlus 9, then this camera won't disappoint. The OnePlus 9 has the same Snapdragon 888 SoC coupled with 8/12 GB of LPDDR5 RAM and 128/256 GB of UFS 3.1 storage. Interestingly, I got better benchmark scores than the OnePlus 9 Pro. Plus the CPU throttling is lower and the performance is more stable as well. And surprisingly, I even got a much higher score on Tossetti's FPS runs. Plus the phone didn't heat up as much as the OnePlus 9 Pro or refused to capture pictures when I was out shooting in the Indian summer sun. I have to say this, the performance of the OnePlus 9 was actually slightly better than the OnePlus 9 Pro in my testing. Now as for the speakers, you get a stereo setup. It is fairly loud and clean, but it doesn't sound as full as the OnePlus 9 Pro. The audio performance through Bluetooth earphones was fine too. Now Oxygen OS 11 based on Android 11 continues to be the reason why many folks flock to OnePlus phones. The customization options are pretty awesome and the design of the UI is absolutely slick. But Samsung's One UI is actually pretty good too now. And more importantly, lately Samsung has been more forthcoming and proactive about software updates and security patches. OnePlus has been lagging on that front, which is a huge drawback if you ask me. OnePlus needs to fix that soon. The OnePlus 9 has the same 4500 mAh battery with the super fast 65 watt charger in the box. I got very similar battery life as the OnePlus 9 Pro, which is around 5 hours of screen on time, meaning it should last you a full day on battery. Plus the charging takes about 30 minutes from 0 to 100, which is just absolutely insane. But yes, I did miss the support for wireless charging, considering the 9 Pro's wireless charging is so damn good. Now similar to the OnePlus 9 Pro, you get support for only 2 bands of 5G, N41 and N78. But there's no 5G in our country yet, so I can't really test it either. But yeah, whether it is future-proof or not, we can only say for sure when the 5G bands to be operational in India are finalized. Let's not jump our gun yet. Now OnePlus tells me they think these bands are enough for India. Well, we'll have to wait and watch. Moving on to 4G performance, it was stable and responsive with support for carrier aggregation. The call quality through the earpiece was pretty good too. So I can't wholeheartedly recommend the OnePlus 9. Something's holding me back because the OnePlus 9 is not a bad phone, and if you end up buying it, you're probably not going to be disappointed with it either. For example, the upgraded ultra-wide angle camera is the only big upgrade over the OnePlus 8 Pro's camera setup. The The OnePlus 8 Pro uses the same IMX689 sensor and gives you telephoto and of course gives you OIS on top of it as well. Now that we're talking about OIS, let's not forget that awesome new Vivo X60 Pro, which actually comes with gimbal technology, which is obviously better than OIS as well. And we've reviewed it recently. Do check it out in the I button that pops up right now. Now, if you want something just for the pure Snapdragon 888 power, then you have something like the Asus ROG Phone 5, which will definitely not disappoint you with performance. But if you put a gun to my head and ask me which phone would you pick in that 50,000 price range, I would go for the OnePlus 8 Pro primarily because it's got IP rating, it's got wireless charging, it's got a curved display, it's got QHD plus resolution, all of those things just gives it an advantage to me, and it's just slightly more expensive. And I think a lot of people could also be interested in the Asus ROG Phone 5 because again, for performance, it's really, really good. So I hope you liked our full review of the OnePlus 9 series. Do let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. Until next time, this is Ashar from MySmartPrice signing off. Goodbye and Godspeed, my friends.